Alright, so we back with lesson 1.2, and this is over comments in C++. So what are comments? Comments are single line or multiple lines of text inserted into the code to explain what, why, and how what the code is doing, right? Um, and there's two kinds of code primarily. And by the way, the code is just fully ignored by the compiler. It pretends it doesn't exist. It's as if there was nothing that's there in terms of like the computer's site of our code. So there's two kinds. There's a single line, which is pretty simply just this. This means that everything within the sixth line will be totally ignored. I could type literally whatever I want on there, but notice how I went to the seventh line. Now this should be all red and squiggly because it's like, yo, what the heck's going on? That means literally nothing. But in here, it's totally fine. There's no error or anything because we've commented it out. So that's what a single line is. And then there's multi-line. If I want to have just a big old thing of text, very much in the way that the braces here for the main function determine the, like, this all belongs to main. These little things here, this is the opening one, this is the closing one, determine everything that belongs to the single comment. And an important thing to know, by the way, is that you cannot nest these. So what that means is that you can't put one inside of another. I cannot put, well, you can put that kind of comment inside of another, but you probably just shouldn't. There's really no point. You can't put another multi-thing comment inside of that because if you'll notice here, we're going to get a little red squiggly and error. Whenever it sees this, everything, this will just, once that hits that, it's done. It's not like you can have multiple comments with inside of comments. So stuff in here will be all fine. You'll just get an error there. So do not nest comments. That is a fundamental rule that you need to learn. Don't put comments inside of comments, right? So let's go over the proper uses of comments, and the proper use depends on what level of programming you are on. Not like on how complex, but rather the structure of your program, which one you're on. And I'll give an example of this on each individual layer. So the first one is the library, program, or function level, the top layer, the overview to the entire program. The comments at this layer should, so I'm going to create a function that's like change site, and you'll see why I do this. We'll say, and by the way, global variables are bad, which is what I'm doing here, so it doesn't matter. But our site is normally at 100%. Pretend this is a game, right? Change site. We're gonna make site 0 and say site has been set to 0. Oh no, what a shame. Anyway, so at the very top of this entire thing, we're going to describe what our program as a whole is doing, what this class, what this function is. So this program at the top layer is, um, well, I mean it's the main function, so we would say like is the main, but we'd be like controls iSite. That's what this class, that's what this file's doing. Let's go with that. So what does this individually do? Changes site to 0. This describes the like at the top of where I say my function is. This says, it tells me what it does, right? Now, so that is the first layer. It describes what it does right before that thing occurs. Right before the program or the class that we write, we say what it does. Right before the function, we say what it does through a comment. And now let's talk about inside of it. Um, the first thing that you should do inside of any function, program, etc., like if we were here, would be to describe what it does, or not what it does, because that's what was up there, but rather how it will accomplish its goal. So how is it going to set site to 0? So it'll be like will take uh, player class will take eyeball will set opacity of filter on eyeball, some fancy shit like that, right? Like there would be multiple steps, but because obviously this is just an example, none of that occurs. It's just a single step for us. But pretty much you describe the how it will go about doing the what once you get inside of the MIDI, you know, the actual stuff. So now let's talk about the statement level, or once we get back down to the sentences. And when you do here is you want to justify the code. So why is site equal to 0? Why would it do that? A bad example of this would be like site is set to 0 because this is just telling me what it does. Obviously I can tell site is equal to 0. I want to know why we're setting site to 0. So the site is
set to 0 because player consumed blindness. I cannot type. Potion. And ignore the caps, that was on accident. Anyway, so this tells us why we're setting site to 0, which is pretty much all you need to take away from that. So on the statement level, we want to say why. So why are we saying that's notifying the player? We're notifying player to see if any effect occurs when it should. I guess I don't know. You could justify code them anyway. So this at the statement level is the why. So let's go over this. At the top of here would be how I'm going to do this. Like I get the player, I get their eyeball, and I would do all these steps, right? Which obviously we don't need to. Then this is the justification for how we're going about that. And then at the top of all that, at the very, very top of everything in the program, right on top of the function, is the what. What is this doing? What is the purpose of this thing's existence? Not just how it like goes about its existence, I guess. So those are the three layers or three proper uses of comments, and it totally depends on what level you are on. And also, you should have been able to tell the distinction between a good and bad comment versus the site is set to 0. Like, obviously, it's set to 0. We need to know why. It needs to be informative and in layman terms, you know. So let's talk about the last thing in this content section or chapter, which is the whatever the hell these things are called, which is the concept of commenting out code. So it is very very often the case that let's say this was producing I hypothesize that this is producing an error, right? I think this could be screwing me over big time, and I'm pretty worried about it, but I don't want to get rid of it because I just spent so long making it, and if I hit delete, I risk getting rid of it. So all I can do is just make it be ignored by the program, and obviously it's expecting a return value, so if I wanted to actually run it, it would need a return value because of event, but that's besides the point. I can just ignore it, won't occur, it will be totally ignored, then I can see if that fixes the program, or I can try to apply a new fix with more code I type, right? So commenting out is very convenient and useful, but also should only be temporary. I.e., once you come up with your fix or the like reason why you had to comment something out, you should remove it so it's not seen as like something that's trying to be informative or telling the person reading your code what's going on. It should be only in there for your purposes. Now, a cool little tip, by the way, is let's say you are here. Let me just get this from up here. Let's say a great example is that I've got all this code right here, like just presume like I'm master code right here, right? These are all very distinct to performing a very complex task. Um, but I think that this complex task might be causing an error. What I can do is I can go to edit, advanced, and then comment selection, and it will just put a multi-line comment thing around it, and I didn't select all of it, but and then it will be ignored. So and if I want to get rid of that, I can just do that or hit Control Z later on if I didn't see a fix. So commenting out is very useful and temporary, and so much to the point where like Microsoft Studio actually supports selecting things and commenting it out, like I just showed. So that is 1.2. Thank you for watching. Hopefully this one is a bit more informative and like better than the first one. Once again, give comments down, or give comments down in the video telling me how I can improve these. Thanks for watching.